I would like to have somebody lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Gary, would you please help us with that?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to move forward to item 4A, consideration of possible action to approve the December 1st. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm sorry. Can we do a roll call?
skipped ahead. Thank you for keeping me under control. Hey, get a roll call, please.
Yes, you can. Commissioner Welker.
Here.
Commissioner McCafferty.
Here.
Commissioner Schweitzer.
Here.
Commissioner Metters. Here. Commissioner Somerville. Vice Chair Pasiak.
Here.
Chair Merritt.
I'm here, thank you. Okay, I got a lot of paper here. So now, is there we'll move forward with 4A, which is consideration and possible action to approve the December 1st, 2020 regular meeting minutes, which I was not attending. Do I have a motion? Has everybody looked at this? Any questions?
I'll submit a motion that we accept the meetings as printed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nobody? I'm abstaining because I was not here. Okay, going forward to item 5, staff reports. Josh, do we have any of that?
We do not have any staff reports.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so we're going to open the public hearing portion of this meeting. We're on Zoom tonight. Please bear with me, especially because I don't do very many of these. We'll try to get everybody an opportunity to speak. The people that are on the Zoom meetings are being controlled through a computer monitor. Everybody will be given a chance to speak. You have 3 minutes to speak, which we are going to strictly adhere to tonight because of the computer timing that we have. And so having said that, yes, sir.
Is that your mic?
This is mine. It should be on. Can you not hear?
I just want to make sure.
Okay, so any issues with that? All right. So item 6A is consideration and possible recommendation of town council of approval to amend the adopted planned area development PAD associated with Bright Star subdivision ordinance 489 adopted by the town council on January 10th, 2002 to remove the existing commercial entitlements on parcel 306-58222 as granted by the ordinance 489 located along Meridian Parkway East, Meridian Parkway North, and Galileo Court to replace these entitlements with the right to construct patio or cluster homes as allowed on the adjacent parcels identified as 306-02-006C as in Charlie and 306-02-006A as in Alpha. The subsequent reduction in required front setbacks, item Z0221. Will.
Apologize for that lengthy title. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commission. If it's okay with you, I'd like to present the PAD item as well as the item 6B as one presentation as they go hand in hand.
That would be fine. Should I read that in as also being included?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read item 6B. Consideration and possible recommendation to town council to approve the Park View at Bright Star preliminary plat for parcels 306-58222, 306-02006, C as in Charlie, 306-02006A as in Alpha, located along the Meridian Parkway East, Meridian Parkway North, and Galileo Court to subdivide approximately 4.7 acres of real property into 32 lots with a density of 7.1 units per acre developed over a single phase.
All righty. Thank you. So as the chair has read, the items before you are a request to amend the Bright Star planned area development and the subsequent preliminary plat approval for the Park View at Bright Star subdivision. The applicant, Paul Islanian, is in attendance this evening. The subject properties are located along Meridian Parkway East, Meridian Parkway North, and Galileo Court. They are encompassed completely by the Bright Star subdivision. To the north, you have the undeveloped paper subdivision of Century Ranch. To the east, you have the Antelope Ridge subdivision. To the west, you have Chino Meadows, Highlands Ranch, Colonial Villas, and Country West Mobile Home Park, and then the Safeway Shopping Center. The subject properties are 0.76 acres, 1.76 acres, and 2.34 acres, which total 4.47 acres. They are currently zoned multifamily commercial light with a planned area development. However, the entitlements for these properties are determined by the Bright Star Development Agreement and the final master plan for Bright Star. These properties are currently vacant and undeveloped. The town's general plan designates this area as medium density residential, 2 acres or less, as well as the surrounding areas. To the north, you have a commercial designation, multifamily, and then to the northeast, you have future growth areas as determined by the general plan. What the applicant is proposing is single family residential development under 2 acres, which fits the intent of the general plan land use map. As previously stated, the zoning on these parcels are multifamily commercial with a planned area development. When it comes to the entitlements on these properties, the zoning classification doesn't necessarily dictate all of the entitlements for the parcel, as that falls to the planned area development. What the zoning does dictate, or zoning classifications does dictate in this situation, are items like density, building height requirements, and setbacks. So as you can see here, the subject properties have that classification of MRCL PAD. All of Bright Star has that designation. To the northeast, you have SR1 with a PAD for Century Ranch. And then to the west, you have a portion of Chino Meadows 3, and then a portion of Chino Meadows subdivision as well. The entitlements for the entire Bright Star development are dictated by 3 items as previously discussed. The first is zoning. The second is the development agreement that was established in late 2001 called Meadow Ridge Ranch at Chino Valley. And the third is the final master plan Bright Star land use map. If we focus on the map first, you can see the subject parcels here labeled as Track A, Track B, and then a village commercial parcel here. Excuse me. Which the applicant is intending to remove, and then remove the entitlements of the village commercial and replace them with the same entitlements found on Track A, Track B. In regards to development agreements, an excerpt from the document can be seen here, which dictates the housing types that were proposed and approved back in 2001 for general areas of the Meadow Ridge Ranch Bright Star subdivision. To the east, they call out specifically large homes on large lots that resembles the 7-bar ranch. To the west, they call out patio place homes and as well as cluster type homes bordering along the Peavine Trail. And then central, you have the Meadow Ridge Ranch. They denote single or possible cluster units. Based on that unit statement alone, there's an argument that can be made for a multifamily development in this area. However, that is not what the applicant is proposing, as he is proposing single family attached homes. In regards to the preliminary plat, the site area itself totals 4.47 acres with a proposed total of 32 single-family attached homes. The average lot size of these homes are broke down or average out at 2,695 square feet. The applicant is proposing 2.5 areas of dedicated open space, which puts the density for this project at approximately 7.1 homes per acre. Regarding the density of the development itself, it has been mentioned in numerous letters that were submitted to town staff, the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as town council, that this high density, or that this is a high density development that is uncharacteristic in nature for what has previously been developed in the Bright Star subdivision. If you reference this map here, you can see that the proposed or the subject parcels have a density of 1 dwelling unit per 6,098 square feet here in the center, which is actually less dense than several of the lots located throughout the Bright Star development on the western portion. Those lower or the higher dense lots have 1 dwelling unit average per 5,663 square feet. These elevations here are characteristic of what the applicant is proposing to develop here. He is not tied to the exterior look of these. He mentioned in the neighborhood meeting itself that it will be more in line with the excuse me, the existing Bright Star homes that are already built in the neighborhood. He is more tied to the floor plan itself as it makes this development possible on his end. Relief from the required development standards, the applicant is asking for a setback variation, with it, which is a modification of the minimum front setback requirements from a 20 foot to a 10 foot. To offset this, the applicant is proposing an open space and community amenities in the form of 2.5 acres of open space, which equates out to about 56% of the total site area. He's proposing a community gazebo area located inside the open space and an internal meandering concrete pathway. I know that the proposition was an item of concern regarding the lengths of driveways for the homes. In an exhibit here, it breaks down the length of every driveway, none of which is shorter than 20 feet, which is the minimum requirement to ensure a car is parked off the roadway. The smallest that you have is roughly 22 feet. It's at 21 and change. But then you have driveways as long as 53 feet in length along Meridian Parkway. So off-street parking or parking in the driveway will not interfere at all with cars being out in the street, essentially. The applicant is also proposing no parking along Meridian Parkway north and then Meridian Parkway east as well. Surrounding properties of the subject parcel within 300 feet were notified. This generated about 90 notifications that were mailed out. The neighborhood meeting was held on February 8th, 2021. There were about 50 members of the public in attendance. Items that were discussed were included in the staff report, which we can cover here at the conclusion of this presentation. There have been multiple letters submitted from surrounding property owners, and physical copies were provided to the commission at the beginning of this meeting, as well as a response letter from the applicant answering or countering claims in those letters. A valid petition in opposition of this development has been submitted to the town clerk, requiring a supermajority vote for approval at the time of the town council meeting. So to summarize here, general plan conformance. The property has a general plan land use designation of medium density residential, 2 acres or less. The applicant is requesting a zone change on 0.76 acres of real property from the MRCL PAD multifamily commercial light planned area development that allows neighborhood commercial development to the MRCL PAD, allowing for patio cluster single family residential, which is in line with the existing PAD on parcels 306, 02, 006 Charlie and 306, 02, 006 Alpha. The applicant's proposed zone change meets the intent of the general plan medium density residential designation. Zoning conformance. The surrounding area supports the proposed medium density single family residential development of 7.1 dwelling units per acre based on the existing density of the Bright Star development of 7.71 units per acre to 1.91 units per acre. The development proposes 56% open space, will give the development the appearance of a significantly lower density. The request of a reduction in front setback to 10 feet on some units is in line with the previously approved Bright Star PAD amendments and is offsite by the proposed open space. Bright Star master plan conformance, as well as the entitlements. The master plan for the Bright Star community calls for the central area of the development to be either single or cluster units, which is in line with what the applicant is proposing. Due to these existing entitlements, a reduction in side yard setbacks is not required. There are no density minimums or maximums defined in the master plan documents for the development in regards to lot size, so the density defaults to the requirement in the stated in the multifamily zoning district, which defines minimum lot size as non-applicable for single-family developments. The proposed development, though, calculates out at 1 unit per every 6,850 square feet. This is actually a lower density than some of the existing Western Bright Star homes, which calculate out, as previously mentioned, to 1 dwelling unit per 5,663 square feet. In regards to the conformance of the submitted preliminary plat, the Parkview at Bright Star preliminary plat meets all requirements set forth by section 5.2.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance. This development will have access on Meridian Parkway North, Meridian Parkway West, and Galileo Court. The development will be hooking up to both town water and town sewer. The Development Services Department and Public Works Department have completed an initial review of the plat. Following approval of the preliminary plat, the project will go through a technical review process and then come back through the public hearing process for approval of the final plat. So in conclusion, for a staff recommendation on zoning, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to Town Council to amend the adopted planned area development PAD associated with the Bright Star subdivision ordinance 489 adopted by Town Council on January 10th, 2002 to remove the existing entitlements from parcel 306-58222 as granted by ordinance 489 and to replace those entitlements with the right to construct patio or cluster homes as allowed in the adjacent parcels identified as parcel 306-02-006 Charlie and 306-02-006 Alpha, and subsequently allow for a reduction in front yard setbacks from 20 feet to 10 feet. And the staff recommendation for preliminary plat, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation to Town Council to approve the Bright Star preliminary plat for parcels 306-58222, 306-02-006 Charlie, and 306-02-006 Alpha to subdivide approximately 4.47 acres of real property into 32 lots with a density of 7.1 units per acre developed over a single phase. And with that, I will open it up to questions or discussion. I do have full-size copies of the documents that were presented tonight. So if we'd like to bring up one for closer examination, that is absolutely possible.
All right. I'm going to have the commission ask questions here. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have a question on the driveways. You said they're more than 20 feet. Is that 20 feet in the property line, or does that go into the sidewalk, and what would be right of way?
It will go into the right of way.
It would go into the
Correct.
right of way. Looking at the preliminary plat, I'm looking at note number 6, and I'm wondering if maybe it's a typo, but anyway, it says zoning code requires a 75-foot minimum lot frontage. We're requesting a minimum lot frontage of 20 feet for our attached single-family housing.
So that is an error. This has been addressed with the applicant and he will submit a revised preliminary plat before council. There is also an error on number 3 where it states that there's a 1-foot NVAE easement along Road 2 North, which is not applicable, or sorry, 2 South, which is not applicable at this with this development, and that will be changed prior to council.
But the driveways do go into the right of way.
Correct.
Well-
I do have an exhibit here I can bring up to. So, sorry. Going the wrong way. So the driveways themselves, the front setback in some areas are 15 feet opposed to the 10 that was requested, but that 10-foot encompasses anything greater than 10. So you have the driveway here denoted within the property line, and then it extends past that to access Galileo. Just like pretty much any residential lot, you'll have your driveway extend past your property line to access street frontage.
And they're not planning sidewalks then?
At this point in time, the PAD does not, or PAD precludes that. So no, they are preparing an internal meandering pathway. There is an existing sidewalk on the eastern portion along this property here. And then he does have that pathway that kind of outlines this existing parking overflow area. So
Thank you.
Since this is the main entrance and egress to this neighborhood, when they start putting in, attaching to new water lines and sewer lines, how are they proposing to direct traffic through that roundabout?
that's a little bit further past this. This is just kind of discussing the entitlements. I'm sure there will be a traffic, detours set up in accordance that's approved with Public Works.
John?
In your presentation earlier, I guess the first question is, have any properties in the Bright Star had any variances from the 20-foot setback?
Yes, there was a previously approved PAD amendment last
No,
year.
but do any of the properties have it?
So
So the variance is the wrong word.
yeah,
So last year we came through a PAD amendment process for one of the phases of Bright Star, which reduced the front yard setback to 10 feet.
15.
I'm
or
pretty sure it was 10 feet. So that front yard setback has already been reduced on one of the phases. That was because of the models that they were proposing. Some would be side loaded. The garage would be pushed further back. And in this case, some of the garages will be pushed further back, but in no case will that 20 feet impede on the road improvements.
So we did that recently.
Correct.
I don't recall, but I'm not disputing that. I just don't recall that.
So it was on the eastern portions of Bright Star. It was a 90 lot development. The applicant, Michael Fan.
I know the name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can get on the GIS map here and just kind of show you, or there we go.
That one right there, yeah.
So right here, this eastern portion, northeast corner came through last year, end of last year to have that setback reduction in place on about 90 units.
I recall that, but the garages were set back on those houses, were they not?
The homes were proposed to be either side loaded garages or they were pushed back behind the front of the home. That is true. But
Okay,
in those cases, none of the distances would impede the right of way there either.
okay, so the difference between that one and this one is that these 10-foot setbacks are actually going to be in the road right away. Is that what I heard you say correctly?
The driveway will be.
The driveway will,
Correct.
right? Not that building, but the 10-foot setback means that the 20-foot driveway on the lot that's 22 feet deep, as we see here, lot 30, that means that the driveway on the property of the person that owns the building is it's 10 feet before the right of way starts, or 12 feet?
So in this case, specifically on property 30, it would be 15 feet, and then it extends roughly 7 feet further to back of that existing sidewalk there.
Okay, so I guess what the confusion here may be is that these setbacks, the part of the driveway is not on the property of the person that owns it, but it's into the right of way of the road. Am I correct?
That's correct. So the reasoning behind this is, as you can see on that exhibit right there, there is a large open space behind and to the sides of those single family homes. He has the room to push those homes back so he can meet the minimum setbacks, but in so doing, it reduces the available usable open space for the Bright Star subdivision. So to maximize the usable area for open space, instead of using it up for the entirety of the driveways, he's requesting a 10-foot flexibility to the setbacks to allow for greater usability of the open space, not just for the residents of the patio homes in these single family homes, but also for the entirety of the subdivision. So
Thank
that
you. Thank you.
That's why he's requesting it.
Can you go up on Meridian Parkway North? Go, the lots keep going to the east. Keep going. Well, okay, what do we have for the setbacks here? That's a pretty major road right there for that area, in my view. There's a lot of traffic, and that's also like a backdoor way for the Ma Perkins area. Am I correct?
Correct. The Meridian does funnel out.
So
to
we're looking at a 10-foot here as well.
10 foot specifically on this end. You do have this large drainage swath that he will be putting a culvert in, essentially, and it'll still give him that 31 to 33 foot driveway there.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does this PAD amendment comply with the UDO 3.12,
3.12, can you refresh me?
which is the purpose of the district is allowed for the regulation, development, and redevelopment of the existing 7,000 square foot residential lots, but it's not the intention of the town to create new.
So he's not requesting that SR 0.16. There's
So-
only,
In clarification of that
Yeah.
section, the town is not bringing this zoning request forward. In my discussions with the town attorney, applicants, because we include the SR 0.16 as a zoning district in our zoning ordinance, any developer or landowner can request a rezone to SR 0.16. And if it is in conformance with our general plan, then we need to recommend approval for that because it's in conformance. The code there says that the town will not actively create SR 0.16. And the town, as far as I know, has never taken action to formally create any land within the town to SR 0.16. But that doesn't preclude the developer or landowners from requesting that zoning district because our UDO includes that as an available district for development. In this case, though, this PAD predates both the existing general plan as well as our existing UDO.
Correct.
So these entitlements were granted back in 2002 originally with a couple PAD amendments over the years, and those entitlements never expire. So
So on this, going back to the setback business, and it's intruding into the road right away, what happens if later the town decides we need to have a wider road in there? What does that?
I will defer
That
that
look
question to Public Works Director Frank Marbury.
That's called passing the buck. You
I-
did really
right
good
off.
with that.
Passing the mic.
Thanks.
Well, that would be treated much like any road that would need to be widened with that right of way. So if it would intrude into the driveways, then the driveways space would go away.
So we're potentially, and I'm not saying this is any likely event, but we potentially could have these houses 10 foot away from the edge of from the shoulder of the road. Am I correct?
Well, I would need to look at how wide the right of way is now and then look at what type of roadway is going in there to see if it fits. You could be looking at a situation if you needed additional right of way to where you would be needing to do some takings as well, depending on the course of action. I don't anticipate that with this traffic loading. This subdivision was developed for many more homes than
1,200.
for 1,200 homes total. And this is actually, these roads are at their ultimate design for that 1,200 home development. And these areas, it's my understanding from the presentation that the density is actually less than what was originally planned in the master development plan.
So some concerns, which I'm sure are going to come up when the public starts speaking about traffic. we're under what this subdivision was designed to handle. These roads, when this thing is filled out to capacity, we will still be under what they were designed to handle. Is that correct?
That's my understanding
Okay.
from looking at the documents.
Any other questions? Thank you, Will.
No problem.
So I'd like to have the developer to come up and speak a little bit, and then we'll open it up to the public for comments. You come up and just let us know who you are. Appreciate it.
Sure. I'm Paul Oslanian. My company is Arizona Development Company, and I'd like to thank you, Commissioner Merritt, and Chairman Merritt, and the rest of the Planning and Zoning Commission for looking at this and hearing this. We're excited about this project. As was pointed out, it meets the UDO, it meets the master plan, and meets the zoning, all three of the controlling documents. But more than that, I think, and this is not really what you're to vote on, but I just wanted to point out that it meets a need. It fulfills a need within the community. We've all been, as property owners, we've been benefited off of appreciation that we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years. There are many homes in Bright Star that were even in the low 200s at one point. And I can think of one home, for example, I think it was purchased in May of 2017, right around the corner, for $275,000. That home is probably worth $425,000 today. But what that's done is that's priced out a lot of our citizens to be able to afford home ownership. And there are very few homes that can meet what we're going to be able to meet here in this project. And these are going to be quality homes, but by being attached housing and by being patio type homes, that affords some savings in costs that will be passed on to the price point and the buyers. I want to point out a couple of things that we talked about here, and I'll try and keep on the mic a little better. The setback. We were looking at that. I talked with the town engineer. I talked with my engineer, Lion Engineering. And the main reason, could you pull up the map that the overall site plan with the setbacks? Because I want to go over that. Okay. Yes, thank you. So can I use the mouse and can I take control of that? Okay, because I just want to show you guys something. So part of the reason for the setback request, we could easily meet the 20 in all cases. But if you see between these homes, and we're trying to create, this is a private backyard area, and then we're trying to create all this open space. If you look at our map here, we plan to do some very heavy landscaping. We'll end up submitting a landscape plan with the final plat for that. But if we push those units closer together, it's going to become more of an alley than a nice open space landscaped area. And we really didn't want that. And what brought me to this thinking, first of all, was not only the open space, but to look at this depth that we have. You know, all driveways have to connect to the street, no matter where you are. In the existing Bright Star or whatever community you live in, you have to connect up. And in this case, many of these were 32, some of them are 35, 38, 22, 27. You can kind of just see scrolling down, 34. So we had a deep setback on these, not setback, the building locations were deep. So there was plenty of driveway stacking or driveway parking, you know, to meet the parking requirements. If you were on some of these lots where you're 38 feet, literally you could double park cars off of the street. And that's where I told Josh, I don't want any on-street parking. And you guys mentioned today, Meridian, I would propose, and I would be happy with that restriction, that no on-street parking on any of the streets surrounding the development, because I think there's more than adequate parking to take it onto the lot. Plus we have overflow parking. Do you see where it says existing parking spaces there? So anyway, I think we have enough depth as far as widening the roads. You know, I can't speak to that, but I did talk with our engineer today, Lion Engineering. And his comments, I wrote them down here. He said they're designated, the roads in the development were designated, first of all, to convey the drainage through this swale and culverts system. If we were to, if that were to be widened in curb and gutter, he said you'd have to have a very extensive storm drainage system. And Chino doesn't have that. This project doesn't have that. It would change the profile completely. And the town engineer could speak to that, but he said, you can't go in and change that. You just can't go and change that drainage because there's a lot of drainage that comes down from the upper parts of the project through this area. So anyway, our thinking was partly for aesthetics, and in this case, when I drove through, one of the final things I'll tell you is when I drove through the project the other day, I was looking at the driveway, and I actually got out and measured a couple of driveways from the right of way back a curb where there's curb to the front of the house, and there were a few that were right at 20 feet. I mean, my truck wouldn't quite make it in there, and I have everything in here is 22 or greater on the same respect. So, in many in the 30s. So again, it would cause us to push that in our open space. I don't want it to become an alley. I want it to become a desirable recreational landscaped area behind the unit. So that was the thinking behind it. It's not going to save us anything in driveways. We've already got long driveways, you know, as far as cost. I think it was well covered. I don't know if you guys have any questions of me while I'm up here. I'm happy to answer them.
Does any of the commissioners have questions? We don't now, but we may bring you back up after public comment. And
Yes, sir. Thank
see how
you.
that rolls. Thank you. Okay, so are we ready to take public comment?
Yes, it does look like we have one person with their hand raised. So if you'd like me to unmute them so they can speak, I can do so.
That would be good. Thank you.
Is it possible that you can expand a screen so we can actually see the person talking?
The person is not on video. You will just hear them through the audio.
Okay.
So when you said hand raised, that must be a computer signal that says they want to talk.
Exactly.
This shows a little hand.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify for
Yeah,
us
not their actual
technologically
hand.
inept people.
We'll get you
I
into
see.
the 2000s.
Okay, the person whose hand is up, his name is Jim Manley. I'll unmute him now. Jim? Well, Jim, you need to unmute yourself if you can hear me. He's muted, so we'll move on. Hold on. See. Jim, if you're on a phone, *6 will unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
There
Okay.
you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Okay, I'm just going to talk. So my concern, which I understand may be addressed later, is that Meridian, North Meridian in particular, is a very busy road. And the main problem is that all the mailboxes for the community are right in the middle of the southwestern part of the tract. And that's already extremely busy. You're going to be adding in 32 more mailboxes, and the people have to go around all the way around in Galileo and North Meridian in order to get access to those boxes by both vehicles on foot and bicycles, etc. And then the other problem, or part of that problem, is you've got 8 driveways dumping out onto North Meridian, which is a fairly curvy road. And it's already difficult to get out onto North Meridian from Cyrus and Constellation drives. We have to basically stick our noses out halfway into the roadway because of the curvature, the blind curves. Also on the Galileo side, you've got 16 driveways in a very short area that's right in the most the busiest area in the community, the park and the dog area. And that's going to be a disaster. People trying to back their cars out onto Galileo and North Meridian. This is going to be an accident waiting, more than one accident waiting to happen. And I can't say how concerned that everybody in the community is about that. And it's also, I noticed that in the original drawing for the for North Meridian, it shows it as an actual parkway, which means it's got trees going down the middle. That road was never built to accommodate trees down the middle. And if you ever went to do the kind of enhancement that was talked about earlier, it's still not going to be wide enough for anything like that. So somewhere along the line, those trees disappeared. It's probably just as well from a visibility point of view, but that road is not nearly wide enough for the existing traffic, let alone people backing out onto that. And part of the saving grace for the rest of the community is there's walls along all of the other housing areas. As far as I can tell, there's not going to be any walls at all around this whole area. And so you're inviting elderly people, young people, pets, wild critters, bicyclists, etc., to get run over. It's going to happen on both Galileo and particularly on North Meridian. This is not a good idea. And I've used up my 3 minutes.
His name is Jim Manley. We still have time, Mr. Manley, if you had other things to say.
No, mostly I'm going to talk with I'm an engineer. I'm going to talk with the planning and zoning guys off at another time because I've got other issues about the finishing the surface on North Meridian is, well, all the streets doesn't appear to be finished. It appears to be rough surface that then a finishing layer of asphalt is supposed to go on it. And I'm just curious.
Mr. Manley, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And just for the record, is your name Jim Manley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up we have. Next up we have somebody by the name of Joanne Savage. I'll go ahead and allow her to talk.
Yes.
Okay. And Joanne, you also need to unmute yourself, please. Joanne, can you hear us? We'll give him a minute to figure it out.
Can you hear me now?
You're very low.
I'm not sure how to increase it.
You're better now. You're better.
Okay.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Joe, J-O, Ann, A-N-N, Savage, S-A-V-A-G-E.
All right. Ms. Savage, would you please proceed?
Yes, I'm basically talking about the zoning changes, and this proposed change is occurring smack dab in the middle, in the center of our existing neighborhood. This is an area that should be set aside for playgrounds and a community center, as was described in the current description of the Bright Star community, which I did send to the gentleman there. Our home, which is on of Meridian Parkway East, resides on 0.4 acre. We're going to sit immediately beside this proposed change, along with several other homes, which were also semi-custom as ours was, built on large parcels. We bought when the community was new back in 2007, just before the crash of the housing market that resulted in us losing many thousands of dollars in value. Our home is just now coming back to the value it was when we paid for it back in 2007. That being said, building these attached homes immediately behind us will devalue my home by an estimated $50,000 to $75,000, leaving us in a negative position once again. That will do the same to my other neighbors here in the semi-custom home section of Bright Star community, immediately off of Meridian Parkway East. Also, 32 new homes in such a small area will bring at least 60 vehicles to a very limited area of road within Bright Star. This will increase the traffic in this limited area near the roundabout to an unmanageable amount of vehicles and will increase the possibility of accidents and noise to an otherwise a relatively quiet neighborhood. Additionally, design of this project has a large percentage of the driveways opening onto both Meridian Parkway East and Meridian Parkway North. And this will lead to accidents as people try to pull out of their driveways into oncoming traffic around a somewhat blind curve. In addition, there is no room for pedestrians to walk if this project goes through as designed without being placed in danger of oncoming traffic, as the front yards will take up existing walking space. I can understand the desire to build this type of home, but please not in the center of our community. There is plenty of undeveloped land with the same current zoning of MR1CL in the southwest area of Bright Star where this type of development could occur, saving these parcels for our much needed community center, playground, and other amenities that our community is in need of. These amenities would not only increase the value of our existing homes, they would help command higher prices of a new development in the undeveloped parts of the master plan community that Bright Star is supposed to become. Building these homes here will forever end the possibilities of these much desired amenities. And that's really all I have to say. I'm just very worried about the traffic, and I'm very worried about them devaluing my home and my neighbors' homes.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
We do have another person with their hand raised by the name of Rodney Davis. I'll go ahead and unmute him. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
Yes, and can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Rodney George Davis. I live on Touchstone in Bright Star.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. You may proceed.
Okay, I want to first thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something tonight. And one of the things that I was unhappy with when we attended the neighborhood meeting with the developer is I asked the question of all the places in this state with all the thousands of acres, why do you want to do that there? And I got kind of a flippant answer, and to put it quite clearly, I didn't care for his attitude. His attitude upset me. And he even tried to turn it around on me and start asking me where I lived and how long, Well, put it quite bluntly, we have a lot of developers that could develop that place better than that individual. I don't care for the attitude of the developer. He doesn't seem to care whether people back out onto Meridian and get hit. And that was very, very obvious. So you as the Planning and Zoning Commission, before you change anything, please take into consideration who you're dealing with. The man only seems to care about himself. He doesn't seem to care about the residents of Bright Star. Now, I did notice one thing tonight, and they did explain the concerns. My two predecessors there tonight explained their concerns, but there is a heavy amount of traffic that goes through the edge of Bright Star on towards Utility Road out into areas east of us in Bright Star that don't ever stop in Bright Star. And I mean, the way they drive through there, stop is not a word that they're used to. In fact, I've seen people run the stop sign going into the roundabout area, just drive right through it. There's a heavy traffic there that our planning and zoning and our street people don't seem to address. the area east of Chino Valley, there's a lot of traffic that was not planned for in the original planning of Bright Star. So when you guys, before you make a ruling, I'm asking you to consider the heavy flow of traffic that doesn't live in Bright Star that goes through the edge of our neighborhood. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, I don't see any other hands raised to speak.
So all of these folks that we see listed here,
Oh,
none of
wait.
those want to
Now
speak.
that I said that, we have a couple more that have been raised. I'll move on to the next one.
If I might say before this gentleman or lady, because there's no name up here,
Uh-huh.
speaks, as usual in our zoning and commission meetings, if you're gonna basically say the same thing that everybody else has been saying, you might just say, I agree with what the other folks are saying, so that we don't hear this multiple times. You can certainly state your position, but if you're concerned about heavy traffic, then you might just say, hey, my main concern is heavy traffic, and then bow out at that point, because we've heard several comments about that. I'm just picking traffic because that seems so far to be a major concern. So if you folks are out there, you're all welcome to have your say, but if we could keep it from being too redundant, that would help us here. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to unmute a person with the name of Galaxy Tab A. If you can unmute yourself and state your name for the record, please.
I believe that's me. My
Gal-
name is Barbara Taylor.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat your name?
Yes, my name is Barbara Taylor. I live on Nova Loop in Bright Star.
Thank you.
My concern, and the concern of many other residents here, is also that we do not have a single two-story home in the entire development. To suddenly put three, I think it is three two-story residences is absurd. It will change the entire character of our community. And we have spoken to the developer about this. He said he would look at it. Apparently nothing has changed, but we strongly disapprove of three two-story buildings plopped down in the center of our community. And we're hoping you will take this seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
All right. The next person I'll unmute is Mary Blackmore. Mary, if you can unmute yourself and please state your full name. Mary?
Hello?
Hi, do you have the screen name of Mary? Okay, maybe not. All right, well, we'll move along.
Hello?
Hi. Can you please
Hi.
state your name?
My name is Robert Blackmore,
Okay,
and I live on Solar View Drive. I have the same concerns as the rest of them, and I have an additional one. This guy is going to plop 32 or 34 homes right in the middle of our subdivision. And he stated that he wants to have his own HOA, which they will pay into and maintain their little property, their sidewalks or whatever, their trail in the middle of their small little 4.5 acres or whatever it is.
But we pay for all the maintenance on the entrance. We pay for all the maintenance on the park. We pay for everything, every commons area that is accessible. And he said, well, maybe I'll throw a few bucks toward your HOA. But I think if it's gonna happen, if you're gonna force it down our throats, they should have to pay the same dues we do to our HOA because they're enjoying all the benefits of it. And if they want to pay extra to take care of the fronts of their property or the outside of their homes, that's his business. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll move along to Dennis Ritz. Dennis, well, it looks like you're unmuted. Go ahead and state your name for the record when you're ready.
This is Dennis and Kathleen Ritz, and we live on Cirrus Drive in Chino. And we just wanted to concur with everybody's thoughts. And again, also express our deep concern about the two-story buildings being put up.
And this is Kathleen Ritz. Again, we're 2295 Cirrus. We're directly across from one of the proposed 4-unit, 2-story buildings. The driveway's immediately across from our yard. We're very concerned, again, with the folks backing out onto Meridian. I think it's a 20-foot setback, so not a lot of room. Other vehicles coming by, that there could be damage to property as well. We would like to recommend if there's any way that they can put the garages on the back side and do the alleys through the back. So the traffic is taken off of Meridian and will help protect the homes that are right on the circle that may be impacted by these accidents that will be occurring. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right. Looks like next we have somebody by the name of Mike. Mike, I'll go ahead and unmute you. Please state your name for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, couple of things.
For the record, sir.
Yeah, my name's Mike Rowe, Nova Loop in Bright Star.
Sorry, can you please repeat your last name? Can you please repeat your last name?
Rowe, R-O-W-E.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah, a couple of things. Just to give you a little background, I was president of a 238-unit condominium association. What they're proposing here, as far as maintenance and things, is no different than a condominium. They would need to form their own condominium association, or call whatever you want, association, where the Bright Star Homeowners Association would be the master association. They'd be under that umbrella, where they would pay for their own maintenance and everything, but they'd also have to pay the Bright Star Association for all the common area maintenance and everything. That's the first thing. The other thing I haven't heard here, and this concerns roads, how much of an impact fee are you going to charge the developer? Because there's going to be an impact on our roads. Because when I went several years ago to a public meeting about the $200 tax per home, one of the things came up was, well, if we voted in, when are you going to get to our roads? And it was 7 years. The other question was, what happens if it isn't voted in? Well, guess what? It'd be 50 years. So there should be an impact fee here. I'm also concerned about how much of a surety bond are you going to require these people to put up? Because I live in a Mandalay home. We're still waiting for stuff to get done there. And I don't know what the town's doing about it, but it gets a little frustrating. And also, if you looked at that petition, 65% of the residents don't want this project. We moved to Chino Valley for space, open space. If we wanted this, we'd live in Prescott Valley. I mean, if you've been down Glassford Hill Road, this is where we're headed. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next I'll unmute is Robert. Looks like it's Robert Pike. Robert, if you can unmute yourself and please state your name for the record. Robert, are you there? There he is. No. Robert, I see you unmuted. Can you hear us? Nope, you muted again. No, he's still there. There we go. I could see you're attempting. We'll give him a second to try and figure it out. He muted himself again. I'm sorry, Robert, we're unable to hear you. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Pike, we'll try to come back to you in a little bit.
All right, and at this time, I don't believe we have any other hands raised. Let me just go through it one more time. The only two.
Chuck.
Oh, we have Chuck who put his hand up. Chuck, can you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please state your name for the record.
Janice, Janis, Daubert, Daubert. I just wanted to say I agree with everything that was said earlier. So I don't need to do a 3-minute presentation. There are quite a few names on the petition that was brought around the development. So you can see people are very concerned about what is going on and the decision that you're going to be making for the safety and the aesthetics of our development that we now live in. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
The only person at this time that we have left is Robert. We can try him again if you'd like.
Yes, I think we should.
Okay. Robert, can you hear us?
He just went back on mute.
Robert, can you please unmute yourself?
And there is nobody else on the computer?
Nope, at this time there are no other hands raised.
All right, so I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. There's nobody out. They can't.
We have letters, Reed, I think.
We have the letters too.
There's letters that were submitted.
So that would be read in the public portion. Okay, so we won't close the public portion until the letters are all read. I don't envy your job.
I will do my best. We're gonna give the letters the same 3-minute rule. Luckily, a lot of them are not that long, so it shouldn't. I mean, I already know I can read this one in under 3. All right. To whom this may concern. When
Can we have
fiance-
somebody's name, please?
You want the name first?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
sure. This is from Elise King and Frank Spangler. All right, to whom this may concern, when my fiance and I moved into Bright Star, we were informed that the location, which is now up for rezoning, was to be a clubhouse. We fell in love with the quiet single-family home development. We would have not have had a home built in Bright Star had we known that townhouses or condos would be built right smack dab in the middle of our Bright Star neighborhood, thus using the infrastructure that our home costs paid for. The rezoning for this high-density project will serve nothing favorable. There will be increased traffic, reduced property values, water retention issues, and the list goes on. There are no trade-offs. We do not want any townhomes in our area. This new proposed construction project would be better accepted in the perimeter of Bright Star, elsewhere in Chino, or preferably another city. It is my understanding that some of my neighbors are already checking into getting attorneys involved. As members of City Council, please deny this rezoning, which is only proposed in the self-interest of the landowner, Australia LLC, and the builder.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next is from Jeff and Bernadette Lambeth. It says, by this email, we are expressing our opposition to the above mentioned proposed actions for the following reasons. Number one, overcrowded conditions of building townhomes in such a small area, and the fact that they will not blend with the design of the current community. Number two, inadequate roads to serve the new and existing residents of Bright Star, as only one road currently provides the ability to enter and leave the community. Number three, the destruction of wildlife habitat for the native animals in our area. These are only a few reasons for our objections to this plan. This is plenty of land available to build to the east and north. The next one is addressed by Deborah Mayer, M-A-I-E-R. I'm against the rezoning in Bright Star for attached homes. These homes will be built in the middle of Bright Star and congest the area with traffic. Plans show that driveways will be on Meridian Road, which is a high traffic area. A traffic study needs to be done, and an environmental impact study needs to be done. The only homes that should be built in Bright Star are single family homes, so the value of the homes already in Bright Star don't depreciate. I'm trying to find the link for Zoom for tonight's meeting. Jeffrey and Pamela Bootycoffer. As recent 2019 homeowners in Bright Star, 773 Luna View Way, Lot 115, we object strongly to the new proposed development behind our residence for several reasons. Number one, we were told that the areas in question would not be developed as they were set aside as green areas. This was told to us by several Mandalay reps. Number two, the traffic issue in Bright Star is a problem today. Adding almost 200 vehicles to this area would be a potential disaster for the community. The necessity of autos backing onto Meridian to exit homes could lead to untold problems. The parking of delivery, maintenance, and other visitors to these new homes would have to be on Meridian, creating other traffic problems. We were told, and it was on all of Mandalay's websites, that Bright Star was a single-family home development. Simply stating that townhomes and single-family homes does not make it so. They are glorified apartments. Number four, the value of these townhomes will lower the value of all the other homes in Bright Star, lowering the property taxes paid by all of us. The increased property taxes of the additional homes would be offset by the lower property taxes assessed to current Bright Star residents. The net effect will be lower property tax receipts. Number five, the effect on all of these new homes in the area will create a problem for all of us, as the services provided in Chino Valley can hardly keep up with the population we have now. Most of the businesses here cannot provide for what we now need. Finally, number six, without intending to, Bright Star has become almost exclusively a retirement development. Bringing lower priced homes into the mix will certainly affect this affluent clientele in the future and stop the influx of money into the community. For the above reasons and many others, we object to this new development.
Thank you.
Next is Robin Miller. I'm totally against the project going through. We bought our home in a single family dwelling community. Adding these townhouses right in the center of our beautiful community is outrageous. They will not go structurally or visually with this area. It will bring our home values down. The additional traffic on these small roads will be dangerous. The roads will become almost unusable during construction and on trash day with trash cans in the road. Where will visitors park? No room on the roads. Road 2 North is already inadequate for what it travels on now. What about the drainage problems this will create? I can't imagine anyone in Bright Star going along with this. This does not go with Chino Valley's master plan. This is a bad idea. Next is Sonia Sokima, S-O-C-K-Y-M-A. Please find my clear protest to the building of townhomes in Bright Star. I'm a resident living close to the site on Lunar View Way. I'm against this build as it will disrupt the peaceful community we have, and I'm sure many of us built homes in for that reason. The traffic problem is huge and will put children and retired folks walking in danger. We no longer own our water here in Chino Valley. Prescott owns it, so why would we build more homes when we don't have any say about the water? This is a big issue for our area and not to be ignored. I hope the city council can see the damage that will be done to a lovely retirement community if these townhomes are built. There is no negotiating the ridiculous. The builder has many other sites he can build on, not in the heart of my community. All right. Next is Harley Armentrout. Members of the council and town council. Members of the development council and town council. Virtually all of the present homeowners have purchased our homes with the understanding that Bright Star was and would be a community of single-family homes. Now the Homeowners Association is trying to change that by selling property to a developer of high-density townhomes and requesting a change of zoning from the town of Chino Valley to allow these townhomes to be built right in the center of Bright Star. It is an undisputable fact that this will drastically increase vehicle traffic in virtually the entire subdivision, and in particular in the center, in the area surrounding the park that many of us now enjoy with our pets and our children. Most of us walk to the park for these activities, which include allowing our dogs and children to enjoy the park and enjoy the surrounding area of the park that the developer now wants to fill with high-density housing. Children play sports in the area surrounding the park. We will all have to walk through the increased traffic to get to and enjoy the park. The traffic will add to the noise, the pollution, and the danger of our walks literally every day. We all know there are many people who do not drive carefully or considerately, and there will inevitably be accidents and most likely injuries and possible death. As a Bright Star homeowner since 2006, I and my wife object to this added risk to our safety and our neighbors' safety and enjoyment of our subdivision. There is also the consideration that many of the new occupants will be renters with no emotional connection to our Bright Star family. Because this proposed change to the nature of our neighborhood is contrary to our understanding of what Bright Star was and would be, and to the stated goals of the town of Chino Valley to, quote, enhance the quality of life and healthful living through dedicated open spaces, parks, and trails, unquote. And, quote again, a small town lifestyle with scenery and open space, unquote. The developers, the HOA, and the town of Chino Valley should understand that we, the Bright Star homeowners, with the willing to consider legal action, naming the developers, the HOA, the town of Chino Valley as defendants in the event that our members, our children, or pets are injured or killed as a result of the inevitable added traffic. That is the risk you undertake if you allow the zoning change and proposed added development to take place.
Need to get a drink?
This is the last one. This one, last one is from Mr. Ed Griffin. Planning and Zoning Commissioners, I respectfully request you not recommend approval of Z-02-21 and P-01-21 for the following reasons. The final master plan, Bright Star, adopted by Ordinance 489, calls for parcel 306-58-222 to be used as neighborhood commercial for the benefit of the community. This future commercial use might be a wellness facility, cafe or coffee shop, community center, or professional services. All of these uses and many others would benefit the community more than the proposed residential high-density cluster townhomes. Please do not recommend a change of the commercial zoning for parcel 306-58-222. Please keep the original plan defined by the Meadow Ridge Ranch at Chino Valley Book. 2. The original Meadow Ridge at Chino Valley Book calls for the central area of the development to be single or cluster. Many years have passed and the current Bright Star community has been exclusively single-family, single-story, 2 or 3 car garages with 2 additional off-street parking places. Approving a cluster of 32 one-car garage, 1 and 2-story townhomes in the center of Bright Star is an affront to the existing Bright Star community. Approval of the proposed park view at Bright Star Townhouses development will decrease current property values due to the increased crime, density, traffic, and loss of open space characteristic of quality of life in rural Chino Valley. 3, Park View at Bright Star preliminary plan proposes to have private residential driveways off of Meridian Parkway. This is a bad design because it will impede traffic on the main arterial roads serving the Bright Star community and the adjacent communities to the east and south. Currently, there are no residential private driveways off Meridian in the Bright Star community. I request a proposed Park View at Bright Star PAD preliminary plat not be approved and return to the developer with the request to redesign the project and be entirely on parcels 306-02-006A and 306-02-006C with a project total of 8 single-family homes, with the homes designed single-story with a 2 or 3 car garage with 2 additional parking places. All home driveways should be on Galileo, not Meridian Parkway. Parcel 306-58-222 to remain MR-1/CL for future commercial use. And request you defer approval of the proposed Park View at Bright Star PAD until a traffic study has been done on Meridian Parkway East and North, Galileo Court, and unnamed Mailbox Alley to understand the importance of the proposed project on the existence and future residents of Bright Star. This is very important due to the large pass-through of traffic on Meridian East due to the fact that East Road 2 North has not yet been extended to Unity Road. Thank you. That concludes our letters for tonight.
Good job.
Oh, in one breath.
Can you drink that water?
So there's a gob full of concerns and questions. I think it would be good maybe for Mr. Marbury to come up to the microphone and assuage all these fears of traffic and some other items that I'll bring to his attention based on what was voiced here tonight.
No, well, probably both. The master one. I need to see.
So master. Yeah. And then driveway.
So I think probably a fairly decent way to get through this is I'm going to ask some of these questions and then you can address them. And then after I go through my stuff here, which I think covers a lot of territory, if any of the commissioners have questions, certainly you can chime in. Or if something's not explained on one of the questions I ask, please chime in. I want everybody to have a say here. So
Chair Merritt, is your microphone on?
it was on.
Oh,
I'm not talking into it,
right.
sorry.
Thank you.
Gary, you should have yelled at me. So a lot of the concerns are traffic. That there was no townhomes or multifamily or other projects in here besides the main single family homes that we see on some of this. 2-story homes, traffic comes up many times. I think that probably came up every time somebody talked. Water, which of course we all know we have no control over, that belongs to the AD&Q, plus this is tied into the town water supply. Backing onto the road, losing the commercial designation for maybe a clubhouse or a local doctor or whatever facility might go in there according to the original plan. Maybe you could kind of enlighten us about some of that stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll bet.
I'll maybe pass off any of the land use questions to Joshua for Development Services and stick to traffic and public works engineering type related questions, if that's okay.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Maybe the biggest concern is that I heard, if with your permission, that is the driveways and the increased traffic.
Yes, sir.
So many of the commenters discussed that there are currently no driveways on Meridian Parkway. That is a true statement.
On either side?
That is correct. For the portions of Meridian that are built currently, there are no driveways. It's
Right.
absolutely true.
Frank, if I see it right, so the current development, there are no driveways that enter on Meridian, but in future developments, there will be driveways that enter Meridian, but they will have a center median. Is that correct?
That's what I was about to get to.
Okay.
So that's the difference. When you look at the future development, Meridian Parkway opens up into a divided parkway with future potential driveways onto at least a one-way direction type parkway. I need to review the documents further to see if that has changed, because as Meridian stands right now, it is bi-directional with no division on it. But the area, I am looking at the area from, let's just say Galileo Court to Orion is paved. And it's bi-directional. There's no median there, but the area south is not developed, unless I'm mistaken. Is that correct?
I don't know. But
Okay, I thought you had your hand.
So there are portions of the southern this area, Bright Star, that have been developed. This layout has changed.
Okay,
I can
that's
bring
what I
up.
was
Do
thinking.
you want me to bring up the GIS and show?
Please.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where my hesitation came.
Maybe.
And then maybe you could, at the same time, if it's going to have a separation on Meridian in the future, if that's what you're going to find out now, whether it does have an island down, is the width of the one-way portion of the street going to be the same size as the two-way portion of Meridian that exists now where the new development is proposed? If that makes sense.
Right, and I apologize, I didn't bring the construction plans.
In other words, if somebody's backing out on this proposed part of Meridian, is that, and that's going to have two-way traffic, is it going to allow the same space as person backing out on the future proposed parts of Meridian that will have the island that they have? Who's going to have more room, or will it be the same room to back out onto, or?
Okay, I see now. I'm not sure, I may have to ask you to answer that question again. I was looking here.
So what he's asking is, on the part that we're talking about tonight, where the townhomes or part or the patio homes, where you're backing on to, there's only a certain amount of distance to do that. On the new undeveloped part of Meridian, will the one-way lane be the equal of half of the road that these folks would be backing onto? Did I get that right for you?
That
Right.
sounds what that's what I think of that.
And I do need to modify that a little bit. When you look at the way the lots are platted currently, Meridian Parkway is two-way traffic with no divider. But there are no lots that front Meridian
Doesn't say
Parkway.
at all on the comment in Aurora.
So there will be no driveways?
With all the lots that are currently platted, including the additional 90 lots that was brought before the board earlier, about a year ago, I believe. That's what we're looking at now on the county map, that the frontage of all of those lots actually go interior, so
Okay.
they are
So
not.
where these new homes would go would be the only driveways exiting onto Meridian.
Correct.
That answers my question.
Can you go
Definitely.
south on Meridian? On the, excuse me, not the east side. There you go. And no future development right back there. And those are all on the road. So nothing is on Meridian anywhere up there.
Can you zoom out, Frank? So currently Bright Star has developed approximately 350 plus homes.
Okay.
They have approval for 1,200 homes. So the remaining portion, you see where it says Town of Chino Valley? The remaining portion of that lot is planned for the remaining 800 plus homes for the Bright Star subdivision, whether it's phase 3, 4, 5, or 6, or whatnot in the future. So those homes, unless they come in and modify the master plan, most likely will have driveways on Meridian based on the adopted PAD conceptual plan.
Okay, which we don't have a view of right now.
It's the adopted conceptual development plan is up there now.
That's what's on screen.
Oh, I got you.
But also logistically, that would mean when that gets built out, where this new project would have the brunt of all that traffic.
Correct.
Be less and less as you travel south into the development, theoretically.
But there's
Well-
also an island on each one.
Bright Star is also going to exit out on
To
the
the south?
street to the south.
So eventually, this will not be the only way out of this, in or out of the subdivision.
That's correct.
Okay, so just to assuage the thought there, when this thing's built out with 1,200 homes, that's not going to be the only way in and out of the subdivision. Am I correct?
That is correct. It either funnels out to Road 1 North or Center Street.
Okay.
Or
There's
Perkinsville.
There's no timeline for that, correct?
That's
build-out.
correct.
Well, that's based on market.
I'm just going to add, there is an emergency access road out towards the Perkinsville Road area. It's not paved, but it's still accessible. That's the M.A. Perkins.
Right, the M.A. Perkins Road empties out onto Perkinsville Road.
That's
And
correct.
that's an alternate route out of the subdivision at this point.
Right, because subdivisions of a certain size need at least 2 access points. That's the current second access point.
Okay,
If I can continue, one remedy that may be looked at is to actually perform a traffic impact analysis for this, including looking at the driveways. Normally, we wouldn't require a traffic impact analysis for developments that generate less than 500 trips per day, which a single family home is typically 10 trips per day. So when you get over 50 homes per our 2007 transportation study, the advice there, the recommendation is to require a traffic impact analysis study above that level. This number of homes falls below that level, but of course, it's always the discretion of planning and zoning. They could recommend council add that stipulation to zoning to look specifically at the impact of especially the driveways on this roadway.
so what, correct me if I'm wrong, what that means is if we put a stipulation in here, if we decided to move forward, you would do a traffic study, and then if it didn't work out, something would change. Am I correct?
Well, the developer would do the traffic study and
But you would
we
monitor.
would review the results
and-
of that and report back at the time of the plat,
Okay,
because this is only zoning.
all right.
Because you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can stipulate most anything as it involves land use, right? Or,
Not anything.
well, yeah, that's a broad statement, but that's where, in the, you've, when right-of-way dedications have been asked for, that's usually at the zoning level. If we
We
can
could
catch them then.
stipulate something like that, and then they would have to come back with a traffic study at some point.
Right, because like I said, normally the impact of the traffic levels by themselves wouldn't be a major concern, but this is not what is occurring in the other development, except for when you look at the original development plan with the divided parkway. The one thing I'm lacking is the width of the roadway on either side, but you have many, many homes with driveway access to Meridian Parkway in the original development plan.
So it's not really
That's-
all that unusual, just doesn't happen to be the case in this instance.
Right. As far as capacity of roads, would you like me to address some rules
I
of thumb
would.
for capacity of roads?
I would.
Meridian Parkway is a 2-lane road, I believe, from looking at the other documents, the right of way width is about 68 feet, if I saw the document correctly. That's a 2-lane roadway. If you wanted to go to what we call a 5-lane roadway, I'd never recommend 4 lanes, because if you have left turns, that left through lane becomes a nightmare in a default turn lane. So I would go to 5 lanes. The right of way width you typically need for a 5-lane major arterial road is 100 feet. So if we went to a 5-lane road, we would be looking at acquiring at least approximately 32 to 40 feet of right of way to do that. The local 2-lane road is generally 12 to 15,000 cars per day. If you add center turn lanes on some commercial type roads or busier roads, that you can bump that up to for a 3-lane road up to about 18 to 20,000 cars a day. The last traffic count we had on 2 North in front of Chino Meadows was 4,000 cars per day. And that was 2017. So we're a little out of date with our counts. But we're waiting for all the COVID issues to transpire so that we can get back to, you want to count during school days, typically when it's the heaviest traffic, but probably that traffic is between 4,000 to 5,000 per day in
When
front of the
road is
Chino
capable
Meadows
of
area.
handling how much?
12 to 15,000 on 2 North.
So right now, just in rough figures, it's able to handle
Triple.
the capacity of what's happening.
But is that the same for a residential area?
For a 2-lane roadway. Residential roads, local roads, you're looking at about 1,000 cars a day.
Which is what this would be.
On a local road. So yeah, this one falls. It's hard to tell if Meridian Parkway, if they wanted it to function more of a collector, but we don't really differentiate too much between collectors and locals in this town, because we have the right-of-way designation, but functionally collectors are, we don't have that many in town, basically.
Okay, so we went
But
from.
if
we
you're looking
went
at
from-
driveways, I'd look more towards the local road. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. I'm just trying to get it straight in my own mind. So we went from 12,000 trips a day or vehicles a day down to 1,000 possibly. Is that correct?
Right.
For a small
For-
local road.
For an arterial road, you're looking at 12 to 15,000 a day.
And are we saying that Meridian is or is not a arterial road?
Well, that's
Or
the,
can you say at this time?
at this time, I would say Meridian is definitely not arterial. It's questionable as far as the collector goes.
Okay.
It looks to me, and Josh, I don't know if you've got any input on this from a planning perspective and connectivity. But it functions more of a collector than a local road, except for where the driveways are. That's typically
In use.
the
In use, right.
and that's the conundrum here is the original plan shows driveways on there, so I would count it as a local road
But that's
for
been
that reason.
changed.
Yeah,
That's been changed.
Well, there are no current driveways on there.
Could I say something? The original plat, final plat.
Pull your mic up to you, Gary, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. The original final plat shows a median in the center of the parkway.
Great. The development plan.
The development plan, right. And it's been changed. And there's no longer a median, but also there are no longer driveways going into there. So I think the original plan was that median was so that there was only one-way traffic. So when you backed out, there was only one-way traffic to look at. What's being
That's-
proposed now is two-way traffic.
That's the difference.
Yeah. And at that point, I could see where perhaps a study would be needed, because right now there is only one access point that's being used for the subdivision.
That's correct.
And until it's fully built out, you really can't require the second one. Or you could at a certain point, you could require it.
Right. The reason I hesitate to say it's all changed is because for the future developments, like Josh alluded to, you still go back to this original plan.
Right.
They-
We don't know what the future brings.
Right. So, but at its current state, I'd recommend at least an engineer looking at the driveway impacts.
Any other questions for Mr. Marbury? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Josh, you or Will to come up and visit with us? So a lot of the concerns are in the original setup, there was no patio homes or townhomes. That's a question that came up frequently. The style of the homes, the two-story thing, although I do remember reading that the developer said he wasn't married to the two-story idea specifically. And then we'll get him to come up and talk with us about that in a little bit. Lot size, density, HOAs, under HOAs, HOAs, over HOAs, HOA came up a lot. Maybe you could kind of go through some of that and help us out.
I'm more than willing to do that. First off, so I'm going to use the mouse to point to the two properties. This property right here and this property right there both currently have entitlements for patio homes or cluster units. So if the developer wanted to put townhomes or apartments there, they fall within the guidelines and entitlements granted by the PAD, which was adopted in 2002. That's not what we're debating here. What the developer is requesting to do is to remove the commercial from this property to allow him to do patio homes, cluster homes on that, which would reduce the intensity of the development on that property. Commercial tends to generate a lot of traffic as well. The other thing that is requested is the flexibility of the setbacks on all three lots. But to be clear, the current PAD already entitles the developer to put patio homes or cluster units on those two properties right now. There is nothing in the PAD development that would restrict access to Meridian. There is no comment there stating that driveways shall not be located on Meridian. The design of those properties is left to an engineer to design the best way in and out. As far as entitlements go, zoning entitlements for those properties allow up to 3-story. The developer is not proposing that. He's proposing 2-story on 6 of the 32 units.
And so these are already existing things that are in place now.
The entitlements, that is correct.
Okay.
And to be clear, these are not townhomes or condominiums. These are single-family homes. Every single home is located on its own lot and will be sold separately. They will have a front yard, they will have a rear yard, they will have their own garages, they will access their own properties. The only difference is these single-family homes share walls, but every home is on its own lot. We're not talking about a condominium where you have a building with multiple units inside where the property owners own paint to paint. We're not talking about townhomes where you have 2 or 3 units on a single lot. These are single family homes. Every home is on its own lot. So let's be clear about that.
I need to ask a question just about that. You say they're allowed. I thought that was only the far west side that allowed the cluster. You're saying the entire Bright Star allowed clusters?
No, so the Bright Star PAD document, which Will included in his PAD, included an eastern, a western, and a central.
Does this classify as central?
Yeah, so central and western both included the opportunity to do patio homes or cluster units.
That's actually in the wordage that I read.
That's correct.
Right. And I guess my question is, how do we know that this is considered central?
Because of where it is.
I mean, is it just where we're saying, because when you look at the whole project, does it still sit central?
So the PAD document has those maps that provide the eastern and the western
Okay.
and the central.
So they're labeled on a map that says what the areas are.
In the document, I believe it is. I don't want to say outright, but it does dictate in that PAD the central area, the western area, and the eastern area of the
Okay.
development.
No, and I don't dispute that because I saw the language when Will presented it. I was just wondering how they did, where's the line of demarcation for eastern, western, central? If
Okay.
you look at what's been developed today, that would be easy. But if you look at the entire development, is that considered central still?
Doesn't look like it.
My interpretation is that is center Bright Star. That
Well,
is
everybody
where
else
the-
seems to think it's in the middle of Bright Star,
Well, that's
according to
true.
public comment.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. There was one lady that said she was informed by somebody, and I don't want to say who she said it was, but that this area was supposed to be a green area or an open area.
Okay, so the roundabout in Bright Star, everything interior of that is shown on that master plan. Let me see if I can get there. Everything in green on this conceptual master plan is open space. So there was supposed to be a park here. The central area is open space, and then these two parcels are supposed to be open space park areas.
So just to clarify, it says Village Center Park. So there we go.
There you go.
Mhm.
So those are the green areas that were designated, and apparently from this new design, that's center area there is still there for a green area.
That's correct. And future phases will also include additional park retention areas as the development continues. To note, there's also a commercial area to the south that is called out, and there's another commercial portion right here. And I don't know if that portion will ever develop as commercial. I don't know if it's already been developed as residential or not. Let me see if I can pull up that. It was having trouble. Oh, so it is still open now. So that
Josh?
portion could be developed as commercial as well.
Josh, does the current PAD, does it say how many homes can be built on those lots?
It does not. So basically, the underlying zoning is commercial multifamily. So when we go to the multifamily zoning to determine density, these are not apartments, they're single-family homes. And when you look at minimum square feet of a lot, it's not applicable. So technically, by our own zoning ordinance and the PAD, since he's not doing apartments, he can go as small as he wants. We have no restrictions on that. Now, if he was developing it as multifamily, then we could require a maximum density of 1 unit per 3,000 square feet of total area. If he were to put apartments on those 3 lots, he could have up to 68 units
Based on regular density.
based on regular densities of our multifamily, and he's proposing half that, less than half.
Correct. But since they're single family,
We have no minimum lot size based on the multifamily zoning district in which this is located.
Because it's a multi, all right, I need for you to run that past me again. That got me messed up.
Okay, so the underlying zoning of the entire Bright Star development, including all the single-family phases that have been developed currently and will be developed in the future, they are zoned multifamily commercial with a PAD overlay. So that PAD overlay has a conceptual development plan, which we've looked at. It also has a master plan document, which outlines the types of uses that would be allowed in there. Anything not specifically defined in that PAD document or on the map, the conceptual development plan, we go to the underlying zoning to determine the actual development entitlements, meaning minimum lot size, setbacks, and everything else associated with maximum lot coverage, things like that. In the multifamily district,
There is no minimum lot size.
there's no minimum lot size for single-family homes.
There we go.
That's the blended.
whether that's right or
Blended
not.
zoning.
Blended zoning.
That would take a text amendment to change and discussion with the UDO subcommittee, which we're not there yet.
Where does that fit in with the general plan and the EDO?
The general plan future land use map in this entire area shows medium density residential, which is any development where the lot sizes are less than 2 acres. So it is in conformance with our current general plan, which I may add was adopted approximately 12 years after this was approved, the entitlements granted. So this PAD and the entitlements from this PAD predate our current general plan.
So correct me if I'm not catching on here, but there is another area fairly close to this that has the patio home designation. Am I correct there?
Not patio home, commercial. So this property right here can be developed as commercial tomorrow as well.
Okay, so maybe I misunderstood, but it seemed like there was an area close by here that had the same density of the lot sizes and that sort of thing.
That would be the
so-
west side.
So the map that Will showed you, which showed the gradient colors in red from dark red to light red, showed the proposed densities and the existing densities. The proposed density based on the number of lots versus the total square footage of those lots is approximately 7 dwelling units per acre, which is exactly the same density as the entire western side of Bright Star that's currently been developed. They're approximately the same. They go from like 6.5 to 7.1 dwelling units per acre. It's almost the exact same density.
So this density is not anywhere near out of line with the area that's around it.
It's the exact same density versus dwelling units per total acreage. They're smaller lots, single family lots, but more than 50% of the entire of those 3 lots will be used for open space.
Right.
That's what the applicants.
Which is where the
Offset by open space.
That's
I'm
where
sorry?
the setback issue came from. He's trying to create a nice area behind the houses, not necessarily along the road
That's correct.
for the public. That was another concern I should have asked you while you were up here, was about how's the public going to walk by these places? But it seems like the developer has provided an avenue for people to walk through this area. It's just not on the road, which is maybe actually safer anyways. Okey doke. Any other questions?
Do I
Yes, ma'am.
understand that the alleyway on the west side, is that where all the Bright Star mailboxes are currently at?
I don't know where the Bright Star mailboxes are.
There's a mailbox cluster right there on that alley.
Maybe you could point it
alleyway.
out to us there, Will.
Absolutely.
So
So the mailbox cluster here is located along this concrete pad, roughly in here. There's been additions to this since this aerial was taken. I believe there's also a secondary cluster over on this area east of it.
currently the traffic will have to come on Galileo Court or Meridian to access those mailboxes through the alleyway.
There's no alleyway. Those are,
Let's call it alley on here.
it is called an alley on that.
And it's
Yep.
one-way traffic on that alley.
So that's not ever intended to be a major driving area, am I correct? Because they do call it an alley.
But that's all the mailboxes for the whole Bright
So
Star,
you're
not just
talking
this
along,
project.
you're talking along Galileo Court, right? No.
No,
No. It's an alley
yeah, go west.
right
Right
there.
there,
Oh,
see the
right,
word
okay.
alley?
So that says existing mailboxes. So all the traffic from Bright Star has to go through there to get their mail.
Yeah, I guess so. Unless we find other places to locate them.
Did you get your question answered? Commissioner Meadors has a comment.
I have been in this neighborhood for yard sales on Saturday when people are not rush hour traffic going in and out. And definitely when you come around that area where this mailbox area is at, there's kids riding bicycles over to pick up mail. There's kids going over to the park, and there are people walking on this area. And when you come down Meridian Park to come in, they jump right out in front of you because it's curved. You can't see the cars coming through. They do exceed the speed limit through there. And now we're going to talk about adding cars backing out on top of people walking and kids riding bicycles over into that mailbox area. I do not like the idea of them backing out into this congested area. I would see where they're putting the meandering pathway to bring back the houses to Meridian Parkway and bring the driveways into the center of the green belt area to reduce congestion and people walking and kids riding bicycles over to the mailbox area. To extend, what was that, lunar pathway or whatever, to bring that up and through the center and have these all back in the backyard being against the Meridian Parkway right away. I just see disaster happening with all the people and the activity going over to the mailbox areas. And that's on the weekends. That's not people getting off work and coming through at 5 o'clock and everybody's stopped, backing up, jump out of the car, run over to the mailbox. So you've got, all the people congested there on Monday through Thursdays, basically, when you're getting off work and people are coming through there. That's all I have to say.
Frank, can you maybe address some of that?
I'll address it from a traffic standpoint. Really quick, one point of clarification. I'm not sure that alley is one way. So right now, if we could just assume you might get traffic both ways.
Yeah, I've
that might
seen
be
it going
safe.
both ways.
There's a one-way sign that says do not enter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected then. So yeah, that's where I go back to my recommendation, especially with all of the comments, a traffic study. And I don't even know if you need a stipulation to that because I can do it during technical review under health, safety and welfare for the town of requiring an engineer's statement or consideration of the impact of those driveways on that roadway and get that on record from a licensed engineer so that at least we've got that on record before we go through final plat. But if Josh may have some more input on this subject too with the congestion and the densities.
Thank you.
All right, so from a traffic standpoint, one single family home typically generates approximately 10 trips per day, and that's over a 24-hour period. So 32 new homes, you're looking at 320 new trips, average daily trips, and that's over a 24-hour period. So if you divide that out over a 24-hour period, and that's half of it's going and half of it's coming back. So if you divide it by half, 320, that's 155, approximately 160. So that's 160 trips leaving over a 24-hour period and 160 trips returning in a 24-hour period. So you're looking.
Well, another
How many
thing-
houses already exist?
Well, that's
Another
true.
thing is
So-
you're not having the whole total group of houses. Approximately half of them don't back onto the Meridian Parkway.
That's true.
That's math.
It is math. And all of that can be hashed out in a traffic impact analysis during technical review.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Josh, I got a question. You may not be able to answer it. The lot in question, the 222 parcel, was that ever marketed as to the existing residents that was going to be something else like a clubhouse or?
I can't speak to what Mandalay Home representatives may or may not have said. I
That's
can't
why I didn't say
speak to
that word.
Right. So I don't know what they represented. That's pretty much civil between them and the people that sold them the homes and what they represented. What I know from our codes and our own ordinances and the PAD that was adopted is what's entitled now and compare that to what they're requesting. The other comment that I would like to add is about the HOA. Towns don't care what's in an HOA. We don't enforce them. It's a civil matter between property owners. We have no way of enforcing those or knowing what's in them. It's just, we don't read them. We don't look at them.
I knew that, but I wanted you to say that. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for the town staff at this moment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm more curious than questions. They're showing 2 RV parking spots. I'm just wondering why.
We'll have to ask the gentleman right there. If you'd like to come up, Mr. Aslan, and let us know.
Be happy to.
Let me kind of run through some questions, just
Sure.
specifically.
I wrote them all down, so.
Good, so we got a great list going. Crowded, mailboxes, traffic, lot size, negative home value, outside traffic traveling through the subdivision, 2-story homes, pay dues to some HOA or creating your own HOA and then having your HOA under another HOA. Those all came up. Home warranty problems that somebody had, clubhouse, traffic, roads, habitat destruction, misinformed about land use, which is not your concern, obviously. Water, single family homes, not townhomes, which Josh pretty much addressed that. And probably you have some other things that you wrote down. If you'd please give us some education, that'd be
Sure.
great.
Be happy to, and I want to thank everybody for having a good dialogue and an input. You know, I did my first development in this town. It was Chino de Manana on Road 3 North. It was in 1989, 1990, and I did Parkside Village and part of Vista Grande, and you know, everything I've tried to do the right way, and that is my approach. So I apologize if some people thought I was flippant on an answer. I'm serious about this. I'm trying to be a good neighbor, trying to do the right thing, and that's my desire here. And I know they're on it. I mean, I get it. I understand, you know, where they could be coming from, especially if they were promised things that, you know, that didn't happen. And I can't answer for that. I would also point out, though, that every property has private property rights, and that's a fundamental right in this country that we have. And so I have to live within the confines, just like anybody else has to live within the confines of the zoning laws of the community, the master plan, of the general plan, and everything that goes into that. That being said, I want to say that we had I thought a pretty good community meeting. We went about an hour and a half. I recognized some of those names. I answered every question. I asked twice, are there any more questions? And I took into consideration seriousness of what some of the people were asking. So what's on my mind right now is the HOA, for example. And I'm looking into, I've already had opened a dialogue with the homeowners association manager. And I want to look at and understand it completely. But I realize that obviously this property benefits off of some of the existing things like the park. And, you know, we want to be, as I said, a good neighbor and be a contributor, not a taker. And so we're looking at the possibility of joining. I can't tell them they have to let us join, but I'm seriously considering having them join us. Or having us join them. The other thing is, it was brought up that we would have our own association, and that purpose was, we can't expect Bright Star Association to manage all of our common area and pay for the maintenance of it, because we will have more intensity of landscaping than anywhere in that development, maybe other than right at the park. So we have to maintain that. We maintain all that internal landscaping, the walkways, the buildings. It's typical when they're attached like this, single family attached, that that the exteriors are maintained by the common HOA of the development. So that was our intention, to form our own homeowners association for that, within potentially, like the gentleman said, within the greater master association, which makes sense to me. Addressing the 2-story, because that was one of them there was quite a number of people in the letters and talking. I took that to heart, and I've already talked with the engineer. In fact, we just talked again today of maybe taking the 4 units buildings, and there were 3 of them. They had the outsides of those 4 were single story, the insides were 2-story. So there were actually 2, 4, 6, there were 6 two-story units. Not married to that. And I just want to see to reconfigure, if I bring it down, it kind of pushes things a little tighter together, but it's something we're looking into and something we'll definitely consider. So if you recommend approval here as to number of units, we will definitely look at, before we come back with the final plat, which is the final iteration, the possibility of going to 1 story. I'm trying to make it happen. Let's just say that. And I think we can. So let me see a few of the questions that were answered, or that were mentioned. 2-story, covered that. Covered a lot of those. One of the things that I would point out, and I think Joshua and Frank covered a lot of it, is the fact that the entitlements here already exist for the units. We looked at all. I'm a student of highest and best use, and when I look at that, I look at what's allowable, what's it designed for, and what would make sense there. So, for example, the commercial piece, and that would be this piece right in here that was designated originally as commercial. I know there are some people that say, great, let's have it be a commercial piece for maybe a convenience market or a little strip mall or a restaurant or something like that. The thing I would caution you, if you're worried about traffic,
Right.
you could, if you put a Circle K there, which is possible by the zoning, is that correct? So if you put a Circle K there, I can tell you that it would probably triple or quadruple the traffic count. And it would bring people from out of the community into the community to use it, that are in the area that say the shortest distance between 2 points. I don't want to drive all the way to Safeway. Let me just go a half a mile and I'll come there. They could have hours that could go to midnight, lighting. I mean, they could go 24/7 for that matter.
Well, I think you're kind of refusing a great avenue for money.
Maybe so, but I don't think that's the highest and best use for that property. And that was my whole point of saying that. So not only does this project again conform with the general for the town, the zoning and the master plan for the community, I think this can be a project that we point to. It was interesting when we pulled up when you pulled up that it referred to a reference to Parkside Village, which is the subdivision that I did that was over 20 years ago now. And I don't think that's a scourge on the community. Those homes originally sold for, $100 and some thousand. These Bright Star homes, many of them just a couple of years ago were under this. And I'm going to tell you that I've been in the real estate business since I was a teenager, and all right here in the Prescott area, Chino and Prescott. And I can tell you that if done right and with a good quality and living up to the plan that I will have to submit and get approved for the final plat, this is not going to affect people's property values. And it will help, it won't hurt them, and it will help the community as a whole. And one thing that I really take exception to, that I have a hard time with, and there's not much, but there is one thing. When we start talking about this type of home bringing crime to the community or to the area, we're on thin ice, guys, when we start talking about that. I have to live as a real estate professional with a code of ethics, and I live with federal fair housing guidelines. In fact, I'm doing a class tomorrow on federal fair housing. We're on thin ice as a community and as people. When we start talking about that, we start talking about segregating based on price, and price will bring more crime, a lower price. I can't go there. You shouldn't go there. And I think it's dangerous to talk about that, especially when many of these homes were in this price point just a couple of years ago. So we tell, if people want to have a under $300,000 home, or, and I think my price point is probably going to be $250,000 to low threes. So somebody wants to buy a $275,000 house, they're crime ridden, or they're riffraff or bringing problems. Sorry, that doesn't stand. But to any event, we will conform to what is required here. We will look into the possibility of going to completely single story, take into consideration some ideas. And I don't know, I'm going to talk with Frank, but the lower road below here, I can point with the mouse you guys got here. So this lower road that comes here and then goes around the park, and then this lower road, I guess it's a continuation of Galileo. I think it would be great to have that one way. And it just makes sense to me. You know, that covers more than half of our driveways. And there are other people using in the community, but if you look at the community flow, a lot of people go through by the mailboxes, right? And then the way I see them coming, and they come in Meridian, they go to the mailboxes to the east, and then they go around and come back out Meridian East. And I would think that would be something to be explored if we could do that. I've already said I would stipulate to no on-street parking. And I think they didn't ask that, something I offered. I think it would make sense to do that. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them to the commission.
Anybody have any questions? Gary?
My original question was the 2 RV parking.
Oh, yeah, Gary, I'm sorry. I didn't.
That's okay.
I didn't hit that.
Inquiring minds want to know.
That was per the code.
Oh, okay.
Is what we did.
All right.
See, we had that additional parking, and I just said, let's add a couple more, and it's temporary RV parking. It's not meant to be long-term RV parking. So your relative comes in.
You might want to sign it that way.
Oh, we will have to. We'll assign it, and we'll have to deed restrict it that way to make sure that happens.
Is that over there on Galileo? Is that, or it says 16?
Do you want to bring up the plat again?
That's where it is.
Right, no, but my question is that your property or is that the development's property? That existing 16 parking spots? Right there on the
go
southeast?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the plat here too, sorry.
See, it
'Cause it's
says up in
paved
the
now.
right-hand corner,
It's
existing.
already
parking
paved right
spaces.
now, so I'm wondering, is that your parking? So would your development be allowed to have access to that? I mean,
I think that's overall community parking. And the only thing I've done for sure is I've taken the RV spaces, you can see it goes into the white on there. Do you see where I'm talking about, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes into the white. That's into our property. But I also talked with Frank in town engineering about improving that spaces, because right now it's just kind of like, it's
just a
not,
spot.
yeah, it's just a spot. It's not really developed like it should be. So that isn't something that we would, make exclusive to us. It is community oriented.
But you gave up some of your land to create these 2 RVs.
Yeah, and if it would needed to be 4, it could be 4, but we were just trying to meet the code in doing that on both parcels, both of the properties shown there. There's 20 spaces on the smaller piece in 16. So there is a lot of parking around that. I've never seen anybody park there. I parked there a couple of times, but I've never seen anybody really park there.
I think it's supposed to be for the park.
Yes, ma'am?
I think it's for people that wanted to park and go to the park.
If they want. Yeah, there's a lot of people that walk there. They walk their dogs and, they end up in the park area. But it is public, yeah.
Any other questions? The traffic study, and I know Frank has said that's probably going to be something he's going to require to be done, because there is a large concern about backing out onto the main road there from some of the units. Do you have any issue with that?
I think, as we're going through when we're preparing the final plat, and we're doing the engineering for the site, I think that would be the appropriate time to take care of that, because we're going to have to come with complete engineering for everything that we're doing anyway. And so I think before we bought the final plat, and then we could make any adjustments in addition to, if we needed to make adjustments for that, we could make adjustments for the 2-story at the same time also.
Okay.
So, and one other thing I could point out, I'm pointing back here, but I don't have the right. map up, but you saw a representation of the houses. It was really about the footprint, because to create the layout, I had to come up with a footprint. I found a layout of the homes, interior of the homes that I liked, bedrooms, bathrooms, the layout. And then that created a footprint. I really wasn't focused on the exterior of the home at the time. And we're going to do local design for all of that. These are designs we found, national designs that are out on the internet that you can find from companies, but we're going to finish off and have all local design. Same thing we did for Craftsman Court that we've done for that. So.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other questions for town staff? All right, so we've heard a presentation. We've answered lots of questions. The public participated well this evening. And so we're at the point in the meeting where I'm going to ask for a motion.
Somebody want to read the dissertation? Do it as stipulated.
For the motion, we would do two motions, one for the rezoning portion, and then do another motion for the preliminary plat.
Okay, we presented it evenly, but we'll just vote on it separately, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I would like to have a motion for item, where's my paper?
6A.
6A.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong page. No wonder I couldn't find it.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
I make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the town council to amend the adopted planned area development associated with the Bright Star subdivision ordinance 489, adopted by the town council on January 10, 2002, to remove the existing commercial entitlement on parcel 306-58222 as granted by ordinance 489, and replace those entitlements with the right to construct patio or cluster homes as allowed on the adjacent parcels identified as 306-02-006C and 306-02-006A, and subsequently allow for a reduction in front yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet.
okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on item 6A. This will be a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we want to read off the second part as well?
No, that'll be a separate
That'll
item.
be a separate
Okay,
vote.
okay.
Now, before we go any further, Will, should we put a stipulation in here for a traffic study just to do our due diligence?
Because that's what I was going to ask about a TIA.
I was going to do that on the preliminary plat.
Okay, good enough. Good enough.
Because
Okay.
we're only asking for zoning.
Right.
The first one.
Nothing's being constructed on it yet.
Okay, good enough.
And then you'd be asking for the TIA on the second part.
Which is the proper way to do it.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
I have one more question.
Need to have a roll call vote, please.
I have a question.
Oh, one more question.
The subsequent allowance of reduction of front yard setbacks from 20 to 10 foot, I feel that should be on the plot and not on the zone change.
What's the PAD though?
So the reduction of setbacks should be on the PAD portion of it. It'll be reflected on the plat though, so that in the future, when these are developed, we can, and it'll be duly noted on the plat. However, since it's a reduction of zoning setbacks, it needs to be part of the PAD.
Right, that's what I thought.
Okay, so our motion still stands good? Okay. Roll call, please.
All right, Commissioner Welker,
Aye.
Commissioner McCafferty,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
No.
Commissioner Metters,
No.
Vice Chair Pasiak,
Yes.
And Chair Merritt.
Yes.
Would the commissioners that voted no, please state their findings of fact
Yep.
for,
Just getting to that.
thank you.
Okay, as a tradition here, to clarify with town council why the vote was no, please state your reasons.
Mine was the setbacks issue.
Okay,
Same. I don't
Is-
want 10-foot setback.
okay, so the setback issues was the question. Okay. All right. The motion passed, by the way. Okay, so I entertain a motion for item 6B.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation to Town Council approving the Park View at Bright Star preliminary plat for parcels 306-58222, 306-02-006C, and 306-02-006A to subdivide approximately 4.47 acres of real property into 32 lots with a density of 7.1 units per acre, developed under a single phase, with the stipulation that a traffic impact study be performed specifically to address the access to Meridian Parkway and Galileo Court prior to final plat.
All right, so that wordage is good.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Again, this will be a roll call vote.
All right, Commissioner Welker.
Wait, one more second. Any discussion?
I just have one question though. Should the TIA show that that would be detrimental with the 10-foot setbacks over on that one road, that would come up and that would hinder the potential future development of that section, right?
We would bring that up at time of final plat, and it would require a reorganization of the lots.
We're good?
I'm good.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Welker,
Yes.
Commissioner McCafferty,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
No.
Commissioner Metters,
No.
Vice Chair Pasiak,
Yes.
Chair Armstrong. I'm sorry, Chair Merritt.
So before I answer that, well, he gets to be on the council. I'm
Right.
just.
Sorry.
Just a comment before I vote. We hear these things come up quite a bit in the zoning commission meetings about traffic, water, lack of stores. Town can't support the people they have here now. How can they support more roads? That sort of thing that comes up very frequently with us. And we don't have any authority over the water. That's all decided by ADEQ, whether it's town water or private wells or whatever, that's all under their jurisdiction. In order for another grocery store to come to Chino Valley, there has to be enough demographics here for the big guys to decide that their store will be supported, not just robbing from Safeway to go to the new person. We can't get our roads fixed if we don't have tax dollars to work with. As far as the town not being able to support the population that it has now, the reason that things aren't working well is because there's not very much tax dollars floating around for things to be improved. And if you don't believe me, go meet with Mr. Marbury and look at his road budget, or you can come fill the potholes on my road. Town has no money. So I'm not saying this to preach. I'm just pointing out that if folks want certain things, those things cost money. There is absolutely zero benevolence available to a community from businesses or large corporations or anybody else. It has to come out of the people that lives there, comes out of their pocket. And the more people that live here, the thinner the money comes out of your pocket. And no, I'm not encouraging us to turn into Prescott Valley. I moved there in 1979 and left in 2001, and I'm very happy to be in Chino Valley. But without some development and some growth managed properly by the town staff and the zoning commission and the city council, Without that growth, we will always be just what we are now, and some folks are happy with that. But I really would like to get the potholes filled on Red Cinder Road so I can get to my road without busting the wheels off my four-wheel drive pickup truck. And so at that point, I'm going to vote yes, because this is a good development. The gentleman over there has brought good projects before to the town. He's been here many times, and his developments speak for themselves. And so my vote's yes. Okay. Moving forward to item 7, non-public hearing action items.
Chair Mayor,
Yes, sir.
there were 2 no votes on that.
Oh, thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
I got kind of wound up there. So
Same reasons as item 1, the setbacks also. And then also, I don't always believe that what is allowed is necessarily what is safe or prudent. And I don't believe this plan is either safe or prudent for the town of Cheetah Valley.
thank you, sir. Ma'am?
I too believe we need more affordable housing in Chino. I just don't think it needs to be in the center of this roundabout area.
Thank you. All right. Item 7, non-public hearing action items. Do we have any of those?
The only thing that I was going to ask is if the council would be open for another special meeting on March 10th to discuss and recommend approval or denial for a text amendment change to the manufactured home based on a current litigation situation that the town has to fix issues that we have with our definitions. Is that something the commission would be willing to do?
I'm good.
Everybody all right with that?
What is the 10th?
It's a Wednesday, like today.
I don't see an issue with that. Everybody seems to be amenable to it.
Great, March 10th, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mind as well.
Please be sure to give us an email. Okay, any discussion items?
No discussion items tonight.
Okay. So we come to item 9, the public comments. I know we're on a Zoom meeting. I don't know if anybody is still with us or not, but a call to public is an opportunity for the public to address the commission on any issue within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. You're allowed 3 minutes. If there's anybody out there that wants to speak, that would be great.
We just have the one from earlier, Rodney Davis, that was trying to speak. I don't know if his hand is still up from then or if it's because he wants to speak now. So
Well, we can certainly give him an opportunity.
Okay, I'll unmute him.
Didn't we hear from him already?
No, we
No.
did not.
Not Rodney.
Rodney, if you'd like to speak, please unmute.
Yeah, he won't be able to speak to what the
Disappeared.
subdivision work was because that's done and it's on the agenda, but he can certainly comment on anything else.
Okay, he's gone.
All right, thank you. So I would move forward to item 10, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Roll call vote.
Yeah. Thank you, commission. Thank you, town staff. Thank you, public.
Oh, well.